It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition.
Welcome back to the Evan edition. Sorry, I cut you off when we were talking right before. Welcome back, Roque, to the show. How have you been, my brother?
Good. I was going to tell you, but you cut me off. No, I'm just joking. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. It's another week, lots of, as comics go, like, you know, my show is about comics and like the weekly thing of comics coming out. Like, there's always something new, right? So it's exciting. It never stops.
Yeah. No, I think with all this stuff, you know, the best part about it is like movies are never going to stop coming out. TV shows are never going to stop coming out. Rumors are never, you know, so it's like there's always something new and fun to talk about, or it's a continuation of what you were talking about, but it's just more has come out since last you spoke. So
that's right.
That's what I love about this stuff. And we got a lot of good stuff to get into. I mean, we got a Superman sequel coming in less than 2 years.
That's crazy.
We got Alien Romulus director who is not directing the sequel. Conjuring Last Rites made a ton of money. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Peacemaker, because that show has been really good. And James Gunn is saying this is actually the prequel to Man of Tomorrow, the sequel to Superman, which I find very interesting. So thank you all in the chat for joining us. And thank you all who is watching at home or wherever you watch your stuff. But I'm excited to get into it. So we're going to start this out with a little bit of our review of Peacemaker season 2 episode 3. I know Roque, you just watched both episode 2 and episode 3.
I crammed it in last night. just for you, Evan.
Awesome. Thank you for doing your homework. I appreciate it. Man, this show is continuing to be really good and just kind of keeping you guessing of what's really going on while also kind of furthering the depth of the characters. Keep in mind, I do have it below, but this will be a spoiler-filled discussion of the most recent episode. So if you guys haven't seen it, you want to mute it once this picture goes down. That means we will be done spoiling it if you haven't already. But if you have, then we're going to get into it a little bit, because right away, I love, as you can see in the picture, which is a spoiler in itself, we have Rick Flag Jr. back in the mix, which I thought was a great idea. And I found it very interesting the way that they brought him back, because in the 3rd episode, you see that one, he's in a flashback where we find out that he actually was best friends with Amelia Harcourt and had some kind of deeper relationship with her as well. And also it seemed like in the timeline, it was mixing the old DCEU Suicide Squad by saying that, you know, he's basically cheating on what's her name? Enchantress.
Yeah.
And that, but then also that he's going to be in Corto Maltese, which is the James Gunn Suicide Squad. So it seems like they're molding both of these circumstances together, and we find out that he's a little bit of a, you know, a slut, and is cheating on Enchantress, but is, you know, too scared maybe to tell her because of what she could do to him, but also deepening the relationship between Harcourt and Peacemaker, because now we see not only did she lose her best friend to this person, but also now she's starting to feel affection with the person that killed like one of her best friends. So very interesting dynamic. And then go ahead.
I was just going to say, there was a couple things like with that reveal of, when he was saying, I guess when they were in bed or out of bed or whatever. Yeah. And he said she could bore a hole to like the center of the earth or whatever. He was like, like, am I worth that? Like, it was kind of this weird thing of like sleeping with somebody who had crazy powers.
Endless powers that could
Yes,
destroy the
that
world.
could be jealous
It's
about
like
him. Yeah.
what was that one? Like My Super Ex-Girlfriend with
Right.
Uma Thurman, you
That's
know,
right.
but
Yeah.
this one is way way scarier.
Yeah.
It's interesting. He's not just throwing everything that happened in the DCEU away, but at least he's respecting what Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag went through, as you know, in his time at DC in general, which is kind of cool. Like, you know, I'm not just going to mention Corto Maltese and what happens there. I'm also going to mention that you did have a relationship with Enchantress in this universe, and we are seeing you right before you end up dying at Peacemaker's hands in Corto Maltese. So it's kind of cool that James Gunn is playing a little bit with everything that's gone on with the Rick Flag that we've seen on screen.
Yeah.
And then the way that Joel Kinnaman plays Rick Flag Jr. in Another Earth is so good, where it's like he's kind of like this bumbling, insecure fool that, you know, is with Amelia Harcourt after, you know,
Yes.
and her and Peacemaker broke up, and he's like stuttering,
Spying on them.
spying on them creepily and not as cool. And I just thought Joel Kinnaman played that so well.
Yeah.
So it was a really great episode. I was waiting to get to this world, and it looks like we might be getting an introduction to Earth X. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, Rocky, but there is a lot of white people and no people of color in the background of this alternate world. Did you notice that by chance?
I didn't even pick up on that. I didn't pick up on that at all.
So my buddy actually that I work with, he was letting me know there was a chatter online after the first episode, I believe, where his brother in that alternate world says like Bloodhaven instead of Bloodhaven.
Oh yeah.
And so people were like, "Oh, interesting! Like a Nazi twang on how he said blood." And I'm like, "Okay, but I don't know. I need to see more." And then once we were in this alternate world, and I was paying attention to like the background characters, and it's very subtle. It's all white people, like
Really?
straight up, all white people. And so I'm starting to see that it could be, you know, Earth X. And if he's saying that, you know, this is a prequel to the next Superman, I could see Earth X being like a reoccurring universe throughout James Gunn's, you know, DCU. But what do you think about this possibly being Earth X? And then what are you thinking, you know, overall impressions about Peacemaker in general?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think, well, first of all, Earth X, like the DC, I think I'm not surprised that there is a little bit of this, like, you know, multiple Earths happening here, and like James Gunn trying to tie stuff together, especially since he's now in the pole position of what the DCU is, you know, the DC films are. So it's great. I think it's great what he's doing. And you can kind of see his hand in there. I don't know that much about Earth X as far as like the storylines in DC. I think I'd mentioned it last stream. I'm more of a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow it as much.
I am
but
too,
I do know,
yeah.
but I do know that, like, you know, Germany was a big part of that.
Yeah,
so
basically they won. This is a Earth where they won World War II.
Right.
And so like white supremacy and Nazism like reigns supreme within the entire Earth. And so like Superman's a Nazi, Batman's a Nazi, you know, like they're all evil pretty much. And there was a crossover in the CW. I don't know if you saw that, where they did a Crisis on Earth X crossover where they played their Nazi counterparts and was like battling them. It was actually done really well, and it was a really cool crossover. So that's more my education with
Yeah.
them, you know, because like you, I am way more a Marvel guy, but it would be interesting to introduce this in the DCU so early. And something that keeps ringing true is he keeps saying like, this is going to set up this Peacemaker season 2 is going to set up the DCU moving forward. And this is a direct prequel to Man of Tomorrow, the Superman sequel. So I'm like, okay, interesting.
Did you see those images? Somebody posted on X. I should have called them up for you, or you might have already seen it, but the post basically said is they're not even trying to hide it now. And I was like, what is this about? And it was pictures of the actors in Peacemaker with Superman, the actor Superman. They're like posing with him and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they were filming at the same time.
Yeah.
And James Gunn did go from like the Superman set to film like 3 episodes of Peacemaker, and then like,
but
and
they
then
were in outfits. They were in their outfits. Yeah.
So they were like, oh, like, I mean, is it going to be that surprising if we see Superman in Peacemaker? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think what to you would be a surprising cameo in Peacemaker? It's like something that you could see or that you would want to, because for me, I don't want Batman introduced in a TV series. I think that is the wrong move. But what is a character that you think is most likely that we could see?
I mean, I think seeing Superman, the current Superman in Peacemaker would be cool. And if it seems like that's probably going to happen, like all roads are leading to that, I think that would be really satisfying because, you know, whenever, even in comics, when you see crossovers, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, Wolverine's hanging out with Captain America, whatever, like Spider-Man or something. Like all those kind of stuff. Like, it's always satisfying for the fans to see that, and it gives weight to both IP, both Peacemaker and Superman, that they're in a shared existence.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think even though it wouldn't be a surprise, I think I would be pleasantly surprised if I saw Superman in a part of an episode.
Yeah. I think I would definitely be happily surprised too. I mean, I love David Corn's Sweat, and it'd be interesting to see how his cameo would come about in a Peacemaker. Yeah. As you and I talked about last time, you know, mixing, you know, these different ratings with the PG-13 guy and the very hard rated R. Yes. And so
I mean, you asked me what I feel about Peacemaker. Like, it's pushing the bounds a little bit for me.
Okay.
That rated R rating. And I can watch rated R with the best of them, you know, but for some odd reason, it's like everything, they're just dropping F-bombs left and right. They had leftovers from the orgy in episode 1, you know what I mean? And it was just like the violence is really, it's classic James Gunn, you know, violence, but it's like that whole sequence, and you know, we're still under the spoiler review banner, but that whole sequence where he's like cutting his own body or his alternate body.
Oh, like the blades like are in his back, like that thing?
No, when Peacemaker is cutting himself up, like the one that he just killed.
That was wild. Yeah,
and cutting his, like dropping the head, and like it makes me laugh, but it's also like, oh gosh, like it was a lot to see somebody chopping their own body up. You know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you could see it on his face though too, like how traumatizing it was to chop your own body up and incinerate it. That was wild.
The eagly like ripping the dude's eye out, like, and just like I was like, oh gosh,
like destroying all those people. That was crazy. That was crazy. So
I think maybe it's because I watched back-to-back episodes. It was like a double dose or something. But I was like, oh, like this is getting really tough to swallow. So I mean, I'll still watch it, but it's pushing it, at least for somebody like me. Maybe my tolerance is lower than other people, but it was
I could see that. I mean, James Gunn is relentless in shock factor, I would say, or just like over the top, gore. When it came to his own Suicide Squad, there was a lot of crazy things that happened. And so I
But
think
don't you think he's ratcheted it up in Peacemaker?
he has now taken advantage of the Peacemaker sandbox because he gets to now play in both worlds where, he's kind of tamed a little bit when it comes to Superman. And so this is really, with Peacemaker, his chance to let loose and go hard R and do all the weird, bloody things that he loves to do. So I think that might be what's going on with him in this and being able to play in this universe. Like, he's going to go 100% because he can in this specific universe. But yeah, I could definitely see it being a little bit over the top. But, my wife is very, very squeamish. And to be honest, she hasn't said like too much where it's like on the edge of like, I'm almost done watching this. She still really enjoys like the characters and the family dynamic, and John Cena's acting has just been really good. And so
I think
she's my barometer for if it's too much,
Yeah, I think he's arguably the most like nuanced character out of all of the ones, like just the things that he's struggling with, and you can kind of see it in his face and his acting. Like he's unsure and like confused and like not very like super confident about stupid things, but then like really unsure and like uneasy when he's around a Harcourt, you know what I mean? So it's like he has a wider range than he did in the first season. And
definitely.
They're pushing that with his character.
I think the best thing about James Gunn is, say what you will about him, but he gets really great performances out of the actors that he works with, whether it's Dave Bautista, Chris Pratt, John Cena, Michael Rooker. Like, he really knows how to work with these actors to get
Rooker had that cameo too.
Really great performances. Yeah. He had that interesting bird cameo.
Hunting,
like, I did not think he was going to be that character when I saw the trailer and he was in it. I was like, oh wow. So
my favorite new character in the last episode was Tim Meadows, the actor Tim Meadows from SNL.
His character, bird blindness.
He was like, his duck attacked me, and it was like, what? He's like, I don't know. I
he's
think
like,
he's the
that's
size
ridiculous,
of a duck.
taking advantage of a man with bird blindness.
Yes. And then those nicknames he gave all of his team, which I won't repeat here, but those nicknames of people, and he just kept repeating the nicknames.
He's like, hey man, you can't call us that. He's like, what do you think this is, Berkeley?
Yeah.
That was so good. Yeah, Tim Meadows continues to crush it in everything he's in, whether it's Peacemaker, Mean Girls, The Ladies Man. Like, he is just always so good in whatever he does, and it's like such a welcomed addition when Tim Meadows is a part of the crew.
Yeah, it was funny.
Awesome. Well, let us know what you guys think of Peacemaker. Are you enjoying it? Is it maybe a little bit too bloody and out there? Drop a comment below and let us know what you think. All right, guys, with that down, I wanted to move on to this. So, as you know, 2025 has been a banger of a year for horror films, which is Rocky's favorite genre. And, there's been movies like Weapons and Sinners and, all these variety of different types of horror films coming out, with like him coming out. And so
him.
This past weekend, The Conjuring Last Rites, which is the supposed last movie in the Conjuring saga, if you will, dropped this weekend. And it was tracking pretty modest numbers before the weekend started. It was tracking around 40 million, which was interesting because the last one came out kind of during that COVID time and went like, I think, in theaters and straight to HBO Max at the same time. So people were very curious, how was this going to perform in theaters? Well, it turns out people are still extremely interested in The Conjuring because this exceeded people's expectations. This comes to us from Variety. They say The Conjuring Last Rites has resurrected the box office, collecting its sensational 83 million in its first weekend of release. That's a new opening record for Warner Brothers and New Line's Conjuring universe, supplanting the benchmark held by 2018 spinoff The Nun with 53.8 million. Among other achievements, it's the best start this year for a horror film, above May's Final Destination Bloodlines with 51.6, the third largest for the genre in the box office history, after two other Warner Brothers titles, 2017's It with 123 million and 2019's It Chapter 2 with 91 million. Heading into the weekend, independent tracking services suggested The Conjuring Last Rites would debut to like 50 or 60 million. However, it exceeded all tracking numbers. So it seems like there is still a hunger for Lorraine and Ed Warren in the Conjuring universe. I know you're not a big horror fan per se, but I just
all those movies you listed, I didn't see any of them.
Like you didn't see It, you didn't see It Chapter 2, you didn't. Okay,
I didn't.
That's okay. I just want to pick your brain though.
Yeah.
You know, this is such a great surprise for the box office and for theater going in general, especially as we're getting towards the end of 2025. So I just wanted to pick your brain on what do you think led to such big opening weekend numbers for a franchise that maybe on its last leg is what people assume? And then also, what do you think about just the horror genre in general having such a great 2025?
I mean, I think it's not just 2025 with the horror genre, actually. It's been killing it for the last, no pun intended, but been killing it for the last
Nice.
5-10 years at least. And I think a big reason is, at least from my perspective, these horror movies that have been doing super well. Like I just looked up the Conjuring Last Rites budget, and it was only a $55 million budget, right?
Right.
So $83 million on its opening weekend.
Profitable
You're already profitable. And that seems like the formula for most of these horror movies. None of these movies are in the no horror movies that I know of are really in the $200 to $300 million range that the superhero movies are.
Right.
And so I think studios are more willing to take a gamble, take a risk on it's one genre that has been able to be a lower middle tier budget genre and then also make profit off of it. So I think that's one thing. So it's like studios are more willing to take chances on different ideas because they know they're going to profit it. And two, I think the collective movie watching experience with horror movies is something different. You don't like to be scared alone, right? You want to be scared with a bunch of other people. Like that just adds to it. And with this day and age of movie theaters, struggling and the cost of tickets and all that, you really have to be you have to want to gather with other people to see something for a reason. So would you go for a comedy romance not
true.
really. I just could watch that at home with my wife.
Do that well.
Yeah.
People
but
want an experience, and horror definitely gives you that experience, the gas, the jumps, and so I think you're right. I think that's what people are going to the theater now for, is for that group experience, because you're not going to get that in your home entertainment system. So I think you're right in the sense that this is why we're seeing horror have this kind of comeback in the theaters in the last 10 years, is because, especially since COVID, people are only going to go out of their way to go to the theaters if it's a big Marvel blockbuster, or if it's something where it's like a shared experience where they can get scared and gasp and shake their popcorn up or have
Yeah.
chicken jockey, do something crazy. It needs to be something where you're like, I need to have an experience there if I'm going to go, or else I'll just wait till it comes out on streaming.
Yeah. And I don't know anything about the story of The Conjuring and like what is the scary parts of it, but like I feel like with horror genres, the reason why they're able to keep the budgets down is a lot of it is just this psychological tension that the filmmakers can add without really spending a lot of money.
Tell you a little bit about it. It's actually
okay.
Can't talk about Conjuring. No, I am a fan of the Conjuring proper films. I'm not so much a big fan of the spin-offs. I did like Annabelle Creation,
that was
which
part
is
of
the second one, which is kind of more of a period piece, which takes place in the beginnings of the Annabelle doll. And so with the first two Conjuring movies, though, in particular, I thought those were very, very well done films. James Wan, who is, famous from the Saw movies, is a fantastic director. He is such a great storyteller, and he's so good at building that, suspense. And so when it came to the two Conjuring movies that he directed, the first two, they were done really well. The Ed and Lorraine Warren characters are real life, supernatural investigators. And so it gave that like real life sense to the movie that these people and these things do exist, which added to the fear of it all as you're watching it. And then also the first two movies, it took place in, houses with families and big families, which range in different ages. And when you have kids getting scared in the movie itself, that makes you really scared and it builds up the suspense. There's one scene, I forgot which Conjuring it is, but the girl's like sleeping and her leg keeps getting like pulled. And so she's like, stop it, like to her sister. And there's just like little things like that are just like very eerie. And James Wan is just such a master filmmaker that he really solidified those Conjuring movies in this universe in the horror pantheon. And so I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with those films. As for like The Nun and, The Curse of La Llorona and all these other spin-offs, people love horror. Like they are diehard horror fans out there. And I respect that. I wouldn't call myself a diehard horror fan. I am a movie lover. And so if the horror movie's good, if it's a classic like The Exorcist, like I want to see it. So I definitely see that James Wan was able to build this fan base and it was able to grow within other filmmakers taking on the spin-offs. And so I really find that such a beautiful part of this franchise. And then to see it do so well this weekend in a franchise that I thought maybe lost its legs. It's just such a happy surprise. And so I'm really glad that people are still like wanting to go to the movie if it's the right movie for them. So that was really cool, just about the surprise of such a big box office number for such a random September weekend.
Yeah. Is this movie supposedly the last one?
Last Rites? Yeah, supposedly.
But they made this money. Are they going to do they're going to make another one because
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like you said, with these Conjuring universe movies, the budgets are so low compared to the return that they get in the box office that if it continues, they're just going to keep making them.
Yeah.
On top of that, Warner Brothers, and I believe this is Warner Brothers again. This is like the year of Warner Brothers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, Peter Safran, James Wan, this is the same crew, that went on to do Aquaman for Warner Brothers. Like they got plucked after they were making such great content for them. So what an amazing year for Warner Brothers with weapons, with the other one that I mentioned, Final Destination, Bloodlines, Sinners, Chicken Jockey, you know, like for studio that was on life support to have this kind of momentum. I don't know if they made a deal with the devil, pun intended,
Right.
but it is working out because 2025 has been a huge year for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and then all of the DC stuff, right? Like just the
Yeah.
buzz around DC. Yeah, the swing has gone the other direction now.
Yeah, so
Warner Brothers used to be a little bit of a joke.
Back. So you never watched Scream?
I think I saw the first one and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scream
is
yeah, I
really
mean
great
old school horror.
like Halloween, Friday the 13th, like
I
that
was a
kind
huge Nightmare on Elm Street guy.
Yeah.
You know, the original Alien movie.
My favorite.
Yeah, and what other horror movies did I see? Cujo, the original It.
You know, that movie Good Boys reminded me of Cujo, the Good Boy horror film that's coming out, which is, I think, getting a wide release. It's a horror film from the point of view of the dog. Have you heard about this?
No.
And
is he the murdering? Is
No.
he a murdering dog? Oh, okay.
No.
But he's seeing
So
his
I thought
owners
it was-
get murdered.
Yeah, I thought it was such a
Oh.
cool spin on Cujo because you show me horror and a dog, I'm going to think Cujo. You know,
Yeah,
like that's what
yeah.
we grew up with. So to have the point of view from the dog, it's such an interesting way. And I think it also just speaks to the genre in general that the reason the horror genre is still having these legs is because these filmmakers are finding new and creative ways to show you and to scare you in ways that you still haven't seen,
Yeah.
which is crazy because this genre has been around for many
Yeah.
years. And so I think that's another reason why people are so interested, because they're like, well, if you're going to show me a different way into this genre, I want to see what you got. So
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned that movie Him, right? I've been seeing trailers for that everywhere.
yeah.
And that one's kind of for better or for worse, that one kind of piqued my interest because I do like
Interesting.
sports, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's like this, like the sports fame. What would you do to become the top at your game? That's kind of like that's kind of like a human thing. And then the way they filmed it, I know Jordan
Yeah.
Peele is just a producer. He's not the director, but it has a very Jordan Peele,
Yeah.
like,
It's like
bizarre.
I got 5 on, you know, dun,
Yeah.
dun, you know, like how they use it's like such a trailer trope now to like take a classic 90s song, put a scary beat and slow it down. You know, it's
Yeah.
like the same thing. Like, no, I mean, to be honest, Him has not really done it for me from like what I've seen. I think sometimes with this genre, there is some saturation where they're trying to do too much or make it too stylized, and it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. So from what I've seen, it's interesting, but it's not a movie that's making me like die to get to the theater to go see, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is all horror movies for me. I'm like,
okay.
it's okay, I'll pass.
Yeah, you're like, see, now you know how I feel about
Yes.
besides this one that we're not
Right.
seeing eye to eye on. Maybe we should go see Him together then.
That's hilarious.
We'll be like, I'll do it with you if we can be like, what was it? Mystery 3000.
Oh, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Mystery Science Theater. Oh man,
Like a peanut gallery, just like commenting the whole time.
I love that as a kid. My cousin was like obsessed with that show, and he's like 12 years older than me, and so it was in his wheelhouse. So he introduced it to me at a very young age,
Yeah.
and I was like so fascinated that you could like do this and talk
Yeah.
through a movie, you know.
Right. Yeah. It was like
It didn't
so
make me
entertaining.
talk in the movie. That would be a bad fact. Awesome. Well, I know you were dying to talk about that because you love horror. So let's move on to our next topic. You know, Superman is the best, I'm going to say it, the best superhero movie of 2025. And this is coming from someone that loves Fantastic Four. Like, I really enjoyed it. You need to see it. Maybe we should go see that. That'd be cool, actually. Also, that'll be my third time seeing in theaters.
Wow.
But in my eyes, I view Superman as the best comic book movie of 2025. It doesn't mean I still view Fantastic Four as a great film, more than just what I see as a comic book movie. It reminded me of Interstellar in a lot of ways. But it's safe to say that this is exactly what Zaslav, WB, and James Gunn really wanted from their first time out, was something that made a decent amount of the theaters, was beloved by fans, was beloved by critics overall. And this was a great start to the DCU. You know, and unfortunately, with really hot projects, we've seen this thing, whether it's, you know, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Severance or Wednesday, where we get this banger of a first introduction, and then they're like, we'll see you guys in 5 years. Well, my friends, James Gunn is not going to let that happen, because it has been announced that we are going to see Superman Man of Tomorrow in theaters July 2027.
That is just like so like right around the corner.
What a turnaround. So this comes to us from comicbook.com. They say the launch of the new DC universe has been a resounding success, anchored by the triumphant debut of its flagship hero. Superman soared at the box office and earned widespread critical acclaim, establishing a hopeful and powerful foundation for the future of the interconnected franchise. The positive reception was so strong that DC Studios wasted no time in cementing the hero's future, quickly placing another Superman-centric film on the calendar. This sequel is titled Man of Tomorrow and is fast-tracked for a 2027 July release. And James Gunn did, you know, tease us a little bit about the sequel, saying that this is not going to be a direct sequel. This is more going to be part of the Superman saga in general. When James Gunn was asked on Threads, how much have you written of the script? He says, all of it. Just in the necessary and lengthy stage of rewriting some more and more. It's been a lot of fun. This man does not stop writing. Yeah. That is insane. In the same online conversation, Gunn also noted that his collaborative nature during the creative process, confirming that he shares his work with many people for feedback. All sorts of people. Yes, he said, I'm very open to feedback always. Then here's some feedback. Stop telling us everything. No, I'm just kidding. From the moment Gunn and Peter Safran took charge of DC Studios, they committed to a story-first mandate and a finished script mandate. So apparently, this bad boy was finished before they announced it.
Because the last, like, Mike, when they say like huge statements like that, I'm like, wait, you guys weren't story first before? Like,
yeah.
What was your mandate before? Like, just announce it willy nilly and like, don't write the script. Like, just start filming. It's like, what? Isn't it story first all the time?
Just like, you know, as we know with Marvel, Kevin Feige came out recently saying that, you know, and I don't know if this was a response to James Gunn and the finished script before announcing, but he said, we never really finish scripts. We are a as we go kind of group. So there's a lot of talented people on set, and they really know the characters by now. If they want to, you know, fill out a scene and improvise a little bit, we let them go ahead and do that. And we let the story take us where we want to go. And so it was interesting to see this back and forth between these two friends and studio heads. And so I want to ask you, though, I have a lot of questions for you. One, I gave you off air, which we will get to. But my first question is, how do you think James Gunn has so much time on his hands to do Superman, do Creature Commandos, do Peacemaker, do another script for a sequel, oversee a studio? there's only so much a man can do, but we are obviously moving full steam ahead. How does this man do it?
If I knew,
Then you'd
I'd
be
be
the
a
head
lot,
of DC
I'd be a lot
Studios.
more productive than I am. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I think I saw a couple interviews with him saying, like, I think he just, it's almost like exercise for him. He portions off a section of his day that he
Every
knows
day.
he's just like writing whatever. And he might not use any of it, but he just makes sure that he is doing it just to get stuff out there. And he never knows. Like, I think the interview that I saw, he was like, I'm just like you, where I, like anybody else, where the fear of that blank page, like every day you think, am I going to write the worst thing ever? Or some days he'll start writing and he'll be like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. But then by
Right.
the end of that time period, he's like, oh, that sucked. Or vice versa, when he's writing something and he's really scared and he's like, where's this going? At the end, he's like, wow, that's really good. So his point was like, you just do it. Like, just get in the habit of writing. In his particular case, writing these scripts, and make it a part of your everyday routine.
Let me ask you, because it sounds like you're speaking from experience as an artist and, a comic artist as well, which is a very time consuming thing. Like, I've sat through your videos. I'm like, we're here for the long haul. Let me get my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No, it's fascinating because you really get to see your process and like stay with you and stay with your thoughts as you're writing, which I think is so cool. And that's why I really love your show.
Thanks.
But as an artist in general, is there a routine or something you stick to make sure like you're still drawing, you're still creating, in the sense that James Gunn is doing this with, in the written form?
Yes, there should be. I think there should be. It's a balance of exercise, like just, doing it regardless if you feel like it.
Right.
But I also don't want to disregard that catching your muse, lightning in a bottle thing. And it's a real thing for anybody who's creative or is doing something creative. Sometimes you're just not feeling it, or sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I got this great idea and like I'm starting at 11 p.m. at night and I can't stop until I get it out.
I
like
love that.
That happens all the time, so you have to have room to let that come, and not just stifle it by saying, nope, I'm just only drawing between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and that's it. And anything afterwards I'm off the clock. Like, you can't do that, and I think that's what makes being an artist or anything creative, when you're creating something, that's what makes it so hard, because it's unpredictable. And but I think what goes, when you look at the discipline of just doing it, it just the biggest hurdle as an artist that I find is just getting over myself and stop second guessing myself.
Just
and so
go.
if you get it, and if you get into that routine of like, this is how it is, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be my Michelangelo, but I'm just going to get something out every day. That's like a helpful thing to do. So like with my channel and the stuff that I do on YouTube, it's like, what keeps me on a schedule is the stream schedule. Like, I have to stream, or I have to get this master study out, and I want to get it out every day. So even if I'm not feeling it, I want to put it out there because people are expecting it now. So that's
really
been
cool.
helpful. Yeah.
That's a great insight. I'm wondering, based on what you're telling me, the way that James Gunn is going about this, and how much he's putting out and how much he's overseeing everything and how much he's writing and directing his own stuff and being on set for Superman and then going to Peacemaker to do 3 episodes and then coming back. Do you think it's a dangerous line to balance of maybe over exerting yourself or overworking yourself or getting burnt out? Do you think that if he continues down this way, that we could potentially see a very burnt out James Gunn in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a possibility. But I think he's smart in that he knows he's at the best possible moment in his career. And so he better just put all his crazy ideas out there now while he's relevant and while he has carte blanche to do what he wants to do in the DC universe.
That's a
I
good
think
point.
what blows my mind with James Gunn is not only is he so prolific with the creative things he's doing, but he's running, you know, he's
Studio.
making these decisions. He's probably managing, you know, hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, and like making business decisions on where to go with DC. I think, unless that's the other guy's job, probably.
Saffron.
Yeah, Saffron probably maybe takes a bigger chunk of that load, but
Definitely the financial side, I would say, like the
Yeah.
business side.
But it's not all, you know, being at that level, that height of what he is, it's not all creative. It's not just like, hey, give me a greatest ideas. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's like,
yeah. And that's
what do you got
where-
for me, kid? You know, like
Yeah.
with the cigar, you know?
Yeah. And I hope that as he builds out the DC universe, like that he is mentoring other directors and pulling alongside other creatives, similar to what they did in the Marvel universe, right? They
100%.
found a lot of great directors to kind of build out the universe because one.
Including him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point, you know, and look where it took him. So hopefully they're doing that too as well, because he can't be the one man show always. He is right now, but he can't sustain that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not sustainable, but for right now, maybe it's necessary to put in that work to continue to build this universe and to kind of snowball that momentum that you already have.
Yeah.
And keep it going. So I think you're right. For right now, it's good. It just gets me a little scared, you know, like I like James Gunn, and I think there's a lot of vitriol on the internet about James Gunn or any head of these studios because these characters and these properties mean so much to so many different people. And so I totally understand that, but it's not an easy job, you know, just because it may look easy from the outside. It's such a demanding job. And so to do everything and to keep that up and that quality too, because, you know, say what you will, but I really like the script of Superman. And I thought, you know, there was really great parts of it that were like very well written. And if you're constantly churning out, I'm wondering if you're going to like move past, you know, skip over those smaller parts. But just from what we've seen from James Gunn, I'm like, it's so hard to doubt him at this point, because in all the crazy movies, he has all these like heartfelt, beautiful moments, you know, like, and I just think of one of my favorite moments in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Yondu, where he's saving Quill and he says, you know, he might have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, and he's like, I might have not been the best, but I try, you know, it's like, oh my goodness. And so I just don't want to lose those moments, you know, those moments of Clark, you know, Kal-El sitting in the chair and seeing in a cycle all his memories of growing up with his, you know, adoptive parents and stuff like that. So I'm like, dude, don't lose those, please. I know you're going hard because you have to, and Zaslav is cracking the whip, but please don't lose those moments, because those are what makes your movie so special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He definitely has that ability to like create those heartfelt moments. I think he's doing that in Peacemaker too. I'm waiting for like the big, I don't know if it's different in a TV series. I'm waiting for it a little bit. Those characters are a lot more like, it's easier to find the heartfelt moment for Superman, but like these characters are all kind of despicable. Like,
I think Chris
jerks.
is the most like one that you're gonna see have that
for sure
trajectory in hardcore. You know what I mean? Like really, you know, hardcore, you know, going through what she's going through and, you know, having toxic masculinity, even though she's like, dude, I don't have one of those, you know, like
or that whole scene that was in the drugstore.
Yeah.
The woman was like,
Yeah, I'm not your
Are you?
mirror.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not your mirror. That was a great line.
That was a great line. No, I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think I like you. I think as we get deeper, we're gonna see more of that depth within the characters. You know, I love Vigilante. I think he is hilarious. I think he's a psychopath, and I think there's
Yeah.
a lot more to dive into. Like, I would love a Vigilante series to really like see that. But no, I think in overall, James Gunn is very good at balancing the absurd with the heart.
Hmm.
But I am wanting to see a little bit more. So I want to get into the question that I asked you offline. So as you guys can see from the pictures that James Gunn posted when he announced Man of Tomorrow, along with other people posting it like David Corenswet and Nicholas Holt, they were teasing a little bit of not just the suit that Lex is going to wear, but it looks like we might get a team up between the two. And it looks like this movie may be more, from the rumblings I'm hearing, that it is going to be a co-leading movie between Lex and Superman. And so I'm wondering, you know, if Lex isn't going to be necessarily the big bad of Man of Tomorrow, who do you think would be a good big bad for the sequel, and who would you want to see in there? My friend.
I think that as we've heard, as people spoke, like Brainiac is probably at the top of that list.
I want Brainiac.
Yeah, I think that we've yet to see him really manifest. And I didn't watch any of the like CW shows or anything like Lois and Clark or whatever, so I don't know.
Oh, like Superman and Lois. That
Yeah,
kind of...
yeah. Superman and Lois. I don't know how Brainiac was, if Brainiac was ever introduced in those.
No,
shows.
they played it very smart in the sense like they only played with a few things. They didn't overload it, you know. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen that show, it is surprisingly one of the better representations of Superman and Lois.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Brainiac from like Superman the Animated Series, and he was an awesome character in that.
The voice, the
yeah.
power, like that was my introduction because, you know, we are Marvel kids. And so really a lot of Marvel kids' introduction to the DC stuff is like the animated stuff that we grew up with or the movies that we grew up with. So
Right.
if it's Brainiac from the Superman the Animated Series, that is such a great way to do it. And then also for Lex to need to team up with Superman, this is definitely a foe where you would have to do something like that. Someone that is 100% smarter than Lex.
Yeah.
But also, I am seeing it more as like a Justice Gang situation because Brainiac is such a big and powerful big bad. So that's why I'm like, damn, I could see it, but then I'm like, I feel like you need a lot more in there. And it says we might get Aaron Pierre's Green Lantern and Supergirl. So it might be a, Justice League 2.0 kind of thing. But I really want to see a live action Brainiac because I don't think it's been done well in any live action, TV or movie. And so I feel like we're overdue for such an infamous Superman villain. In those regards.
And it makes sense too if the rumors are true that there is like a team up. Like it makes sense with Luthor and Superman together. For generalizations, the brains and the brawn, because Brainiac is kind of both, right? Like he is able to counter on both sides with those characters. So yeah, I think Brainiac for sure was in my mind.
All right, who else you got?
I mean, I think as a big bad, I don't know if he can get really bigger or badder than that. At least that we haven't seen. I mean, Snyder did Doomsday. I don't think James Gunn would redo or try and reinvent Doomsday.
But did he do it well?
I don't think Snyder did do it well. Like that's been a tough character for me.
Did he look like this?
No. I don't even remember what his design looked like in the Snyder version. It was so like
it was like a Ninja Turtle, like a gray Ninja Turtle. You know?
Yeah. I do feel like when I was done watching the first this past Superman, I did feel like that alternate Superman, Ultraman, or whatever they wanted to call him,
Ultraman,
felt like that was an opening for Bizarro. Exactly. Thank you. Perfect timing with that image.
Brother.
It felt like, oh, is he gonna be Bizarro? Because it was
Perfect.
like, yeah, like I could see that, you know. But is he big enough to be the villain and the hero in the movie? I don't think so. I think that'd be too much of a lift, you know?
I feel like it'd be a good side issue that they're dealing with because there is, narrative reason for Bizarro coming back and having a vendetta against Superman and against Lex, who was his creator, and all that stuff. And so I think it lends well to like what we saw in the first one. Yeah. However, I don't see Bizarro as being like such a big bad for like the main villain of the movie. I do really like how Superman and Lois did Bizarro. And so I don't know if you saw this, but they basically did the mirror world Bizarro, had him come here. And then something happened to Bizarro, and then he eventually becomes Doomsday. And it was a really cool take on it. So much so that, in the end, he still had that Bizarro like memories of his family in the mirror universe. And there was this really cool point where it's so hard to destroy him that Superman's going to push him into the sun. And there's a part where his eyes light up like the blue Bizarro eyes. And he's kind of just like, finish me off, like push me into the sun. And it was like a really beautiful moment that I'm like, dang, dude, they did this better than Zack Snyder. And this is like a CW show. So I feel like there's great things that you can play with Bizarro, with the, no pun intended, but the mirroring of Superman himself. And there's a lot you can play with that. But is he big enough to be the main villain is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
There's another one that I was wondering if you would like us the idea.
Zod.
Kneel
before Zod. But
what do
Snyder,
Snyder
did his take on that too, right?
We've seen, it's in the lore of Superman. It is extremely hard to ignore General Zod. He is such a mainstay in the rogues gallery of Superman, in DC Comics in general, and in seeing, what Superman could have been if he didn't grow up on Krypton, if he wasn't raised by the Kents. We already saw in the first one that the message from his parents was to rule over Earth, and that is a very Zod-like mentality. Could we see possibly that the message from Bradley Cooper's Jor-El was actually Zod and it was not his parents? There's a lot that you could play with in that message being such a crux of the first film that could lend itself well to introducing Zod within Man of Tomorrow. What do you think about using Zod in that kind of way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of, the first movie ended off with a lot of open-ended questions of Superman's home and the motivations there. So I think that, Zod, like you just articulated, kind of represented that world if Superman never left, and, what that could be, or always that it's like that tie to home, but not in a good sense.
Right.
That was like, that chases Superman to Earth. So yeah, I can see that for sure. I just think
It's been done too much.
It's been done. You know, even the Zod from Superman 2, the original Christopher Reeve Superman 2. Or was he in,
R.I.P.
it was yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2, right? Superman 2?
Yeah. But they introduced him in 1, which is like such a ballsy move before you establish your franchise to be like, we're going to tease the main villain of 2
right
in the beginning of 1 before people are even in love with this movie. It was such a
Yeah.
cool way to introduce him. But
like, you know, we do have that already ingrained in our brain.
Terrence Mann, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Such
a
great representation of Zod, like balding, you know, the actor's balding, but still like intimidating as all heck. Like, wow, how are you intimidating? And you're like, look like my grandpa, you know, and you're like 40, you're only 40, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, going back to Brainiac, I feel like he hasn't had his shot yet, hasn't had his chance. Okay. And I think it's a ripe kind of character, both in story, but also in how would you execute Brainiac? What would that look like? How would you make that come to life on the big screen? I think there's a huge opportunity there for James Gunn.
Yes, I think you're right. And I think, you know, another way that you can use Brainiac is this pocket universe and these dimensions that they're showing within Peacemaker is another way that you could introduce Brainiac. You know, Brainiac needs a way to find Earth, you know, and so using the pocket dimension rift that happened in the first one, or, you know, Chris Smith messing around with the different dimensions within his storyline, it's another natural, organic way to introduce Brainiac and have him have Earth and Superman on his radar. That would make a lot of sense. So I think that's another cool way that you can do it. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Terrence Stamp. Yes.
The chat's awesome. Chat is awesome when it comes to names.
It is. I should have known that because we honored him on my show
Nice.
just a few weeks ago when he passed away. But yeah, so I think I know General Zod has already been done in a lot of ways, but I still think narratively for this Superman, there's still some ways that you could play with the lore of Zod and have it make sense for James Gunn's DCU. So, and you know, what if that wasn't even his dad? What if Bradley Cooper is Zod? Dun dun dun. You know what I mean? Like, what if that wasn't, because they kept saying like, oh, like we checked it out, like it hasn't been tampered with at all. It's like, yeah, it wasn't tampered with because that was just Zod messing with you. You know what I mean? So that would be so interesting. It's like Bradley Cooper is Zod. He was never Jor-El. That would be really crazy.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I've seen it in a couple interviews with Gunn talking about that very thing. Like, was it real? Was it a fake message? Was it altered? And he was like, I think I was pretty clear in the script that like it was real. But everybody's like, no, but it can't be because we have this certain image of Krypton and how noble and Superman. He's like, but that's the point, you know, that's the whole story of that Superman is not a product of his birthplace or his birthright. He's a product of the choices he made as a character. Yeah.
I love that.
That's a great message. So, but you know, who knows? You just have all of fandom with all our different theories of like, but it can't be that way.
Who knows? The Shadow knows.
Hey, sure.
Is there any other villains that you think would be good for the sequel or worthy of a team up that forces, you know, Lex and Superman to work together that we didn't mention?
I have this sneaking suspicion that maybe Lobo might make an appearance. I know they've said Lobo is probably gonna be in the Supergirl movie, right? Is that what?
Yeah.
And
you know, he's definitely in the Supergirl movie, and I am hearing rumblings that he could be in the Superman sequel, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll be as a foe or a friend.
No, I think it'll just be like a side appearance or something.
His side chick. It'll be his
Yeah,
side
yeah. Oh yeah, there's
Okay.
that image that references the Superman, the Lex Luthor suit, and there's Brainiac on the right side. Brainiac's
Yeah.
on the right side.
I mean,
so-
and how old is this comic, by the way?
oh, this
Is it
was
40s or
ooh,
50s?
good question. I don't know.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I really think, just like Lex Luthor, Brainiac is such an infamous Superman villain, and to not have that accurate, representation of him on a movie yet is kind of mind-boggling to me,
Mhm.
because we have seen a lot of Supermans thus far, but you haven't introduced Brainiac, and it's just like it's right there for such great storytelling and for such a worthy foe to a Superman. And so I just find it so interesting that you haven't done it yet. And that's why I think, just like a lot of people are, and myself, are leaning towards Brainiac being, a very highly anticipated possibility.
Yeah, I just think how, like, visually what James Gunn would do with Brainiac could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's so many directions you can go. Even in that comic cover, which I just looked it up, it's 1983, not as old as the 40s, but 83. But if you want to do the calculation and the math, how long ago 83 was, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. 52 years ago, right? Or 42? I can't do math, I guess.
40. Anyway, but
Can't do
but
math.
just in that image, those two images on the right, it's kind of small on screen, but those two images on the right are two different versions of Brainiac, right? So there's the green faced one, there's the
Right.
like fully cybernetic one. Like he can go in many directions that way.
And Brainiac clearly likes to twerk, so
Yes,
he's like
he can go the
backing it up
twerking.
into
he can
himself.
do the twerking way. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Well, let me know what you guys think. Are you excited about getting a Man of Tomorrow Superman sequel this soon in the theaters? And who do you think would be a worthy foe that would constitute Lex and Superman teaming up? Drop a comment below. Let us know what you think. All right, guys, we got some
Definitely
more.
twerking Brainiac. That's
It
a
needs to be
worthy foe.
twerking
Yeah.
Brainiac. If it is Brainiac, he needs to come into screen twerking. Just like, what was that on? Did you see She-Hulk? Megan the Stallion.
No, I haven't seen
He's
that
like
one.
twerking with She-Hulk
really?
on her desk.
Oh,
I'm like, this just ruined it for me. On top of that, there's other DC projects coming out, not so tied to the Superman lore. And some of it is actually in animated form, which I'm really excited about. And apparently, we've gotten some new writers for the Robin team-up animated movie Dynamic Duo. And we got a little bit more information about what this movie could be about. This comes to us from comicbookmovie.com. They say DC Studios co-CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran have repeatedly said that they want to tell as many different types of stories in and around the DCU as possible. Amongst the most intriguing is Swaybox's animated Dynamic Duo. Announced last October, the movie is expected to be as big a game changer for DC animation as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was for Marvel and Sony. A new writing duo has been tapped to rewrite the script, and with that news comes some additional story details. According to The Wrap, Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber are now working on Dynamic Duo. The writing team is best known for penning Mark Webb's 500 Days of Summer and earned an Academy Award nomination for The Disaster Artist. They also count Daisy Jones and the Six and Rosalind among their credits. The trade reveals that the movie, which in quotes is a combination of miniatures, models, puppetry, animatronics, and computer animation, will revolve around Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, who have both taken on the mantle of Robin as Batman's sidekick in this story. That's a major departure from the comics, so you'll likely be relieved to learn that Dynamic Duo will take place in a separate timeline from his film starring Robert Pattinson, and as we understand it, outside of the current DC universe. That arguably makes much more sense than treating this as a prequel to The Brave and the Bold, a movie that is expected to revolve around Bruce Wayne training his son Damian as Robin. In the comics, as we know, Dick was the first to hold the mantle before leaving Batman's side to become Nightwing. He has taken in he was taken in as Bruce's ward after his parents acrobatic of the flying Grayson and were killed by gangsters. As for Jason, Batman found him attempting to steal one of the Batmobile's wheels and took the boy under his wing. Jason was never the obedient son Dick was, and ended up being killed by the Joker. However, later, his rise from the dead as the violent, vigilant Red Hood. So we can see that we have, a new writing duo. And if you look at the projects, 500 Days of Summer, The Disaster Artist, Rosalind, these are like a lot of comedic properties.
Yeah.
So you can see that we're going to get like an injection of comedy within the Dynamic Duo animated series. Based on what we're hearing about this new writing duo, the type of animation with the miniatures, the animation, the different kinds of animation, how are you feeling about this property and having these Robins team up in this, separate one-off animated movie?
Well, it's funny. When I read the blurb, when I knew you were going to be talking about this today, that company Swaybox has actually been in the news a lot with animation in like the animation trades.
Really?
And you can actually go and see their site, swayboxstudios.com. They have their reel, and they've been doing this really cool hybrid. It looks like a mixture of, like they mentioned in the article, like puppets, and 3D animation, and so it has this kind of tactile feel. I don't know. I don't know if you remember those puppets like Sid and Marty Krofft. They kind of had this like weird, like exaggerated look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done these tests, and they've released these tests, and I know a lot of people in the animation community are like, "Whoa, this looks so crazy."
It's awesome though.
It is awesome, and it's very different. And I feel like Dynamic Duo, putting aside the new writers that they've placed on this, which you're right, they definitely feel like they're coming from more of a comedy base. Mm-hmm. This animation style, it seems like DC's trying to do what Marvel did with Across the Spider-Verse, of doing something so left field with animation.
That's great though.
And create their own look and feel. Like now you see every project that comes out is referencing Across the Spider-Verse, like has that like really
they
cool,
want their own Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Yeah, like
like so many shows that have come out have the same like 2D effects and like sound effects and like all this like hand drawn like confusion on 3D. And so I feel like Swaybox
types of animation into one thing, like
yes, and Swaybox I feel like has a look that's so different, and according to what their technology is doing, kind of groundbreaking, where they're combining performance and stop motion and 3D stuff. So it could be cool. It could be really cool, and with the right writing team on it, it could be something stand out, very different.
Right.
But yeah, it depends on the story, and I think it'll catch enough eyes just on the look, because it'll be just looking at what Swaybox has done for their demo reel. I think the look of it will be very different than anything out there. And if they can put a good story on it, when you have these two characters, like the two Robins, like that's an interesting duo to put together. So
I think you're right.
I'm really I'll be keeping my eye out on that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting it's definitely an interesting project, and I think it really lends well to the vision that Peter Safran and James Gunn have of what the DCU or DC studios in general can look like. Is they don't want to pigeonhole themselves to everything in the same cinematic universe, because as we see with, you know, the MCU and Marvel, they're hitting some walls and it's kind of hard for them to pivot. So I really think they're trying to like learn from those lessons and incorporate different kind of projects outside the main timeline and do Elseworld stories, whether it's, you know, Clayface or you know, this dynamic duo and I'm sure other things that they're coming up with. And so I think it's really smart to continue to like push the bounds of what they can do under the DC Studios banner. And I think this is a real big test, because you best believe that if this works and they do like Into the Spider-Verse numbers and also critically, because that was an Oscar-winning film, they are going to definitely continue to think outside the box and continue to push those boundaries of what they can do within the DC properties. So I think this is a great idea, and I think this is a huge test for them. So I'm just, above everything else, really curious to see what this will look like and how it'll play out, because if it plays out well, we're going to see a series of other studios trying to do the same thing, just like they did with the Spider-Verse movies. So I think that's really exciting.
And then if it doesn't do well, then be like, oh yeah, that was just a one-off.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with our timeline. Like,
right.
Like Man of Tomorrow's coming out. You guys excited?
Right. Don't look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Look at this, Man of Tomorrow.
Like, you seen Green Lantern?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm right there with you. I think Swaybox is doing some fantastic things, and for a big studio like DC Studios to kind of like pluck them and put them into something bigger with a bigger property is exactly what you're talking about giving the reins to other creatives and seeing what they do with these properties. So I think that is also something really cool that we're starting to see within such an obscure choice like Swaybox to take over the animation, because Warner Brothers animation, they are huge. They have their own. So to think outside of the box, no pun intended, I think it's just such a great choice. And
I think I also read that I think the founder of Swaybox Studios, I think she's the wife of one of the executive producers on that show. So there's
really?
It's not just a random like, hey, look at this cool story. I think there's like some sort of tie there.
Nepotism.
Like, yes, a little bit. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I read something to that extent. But you know, whatever. If they pull it off, it could be great. You know.
No, definitely. No, I'm really excited. I think, you know, getting these new writers, and especially, you know, Oscar nominated with the Disaster Artist, which, you know, if that stuff didn't happen with the lead of Disaster Artist, James Franco.
Oh yeah.
I think that thing would have had a lot more legs. So I think that's such an interesting group to grab for like a Robin duo movie. So I'm like, okay, it's a very like Chris and Phil, you know, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Spider-Verse choice.
Yes.
So you can really see like they want their own Spider-Verse and they're trying to emulate it in any way they can. So let us know what you guys think. Do you think this is a good choice to write a dynamic duo Robin's team up? Is this something that interests you now that you know Swaybox is behind the animation for the movie? Drop a comment below and let us know what you think. All right, guys, we are almost out of here. I have one more thing, and we'll get through this quickly. But I'm just really curious, because I know you are not an Alien fan, but as you've seen in the past few years, there's been a pretty much, you know, a good resurgence within the, you know, Predator universe and the Alien universe, and you know they like to mix those two up. And we
Are Are you watching that new show?
I
Alien
am.
Earth?
I am watching Alien Earth.
I've heard good things. I haven't seen it. That's next on
It
my
is
list.
very good. It is very good. And so, right now we have Alien Earth on TV, which is getting really good reviews. We had Alien Romulus that come out last year, which starred, Katie Spaney and also Hawk Girl, from Superman.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on her name. Help me out, chat. And so you've seen this kind of resurgence with this property that we felt was kind of like driven into the ground a little bit. And Fede Alvarez, had this great take on Alien Romulus, bringing it back to the horror elements that we all love from the first Alien movie from Ridley Scott. And so it did such a good job, not only critically, not only in the theaters, but for the franchise in general. And so we know that Fede Alvarez was writing a second one, but now we have been informed that he will not be the director moving forward and that he is actually taking a step back from the director's chair. This comes to us from The Wrap. They say Fede Alvarez, who directed 2024's Alien Romulus, will not return to direct the sequel. Alvarez wrote the script for the sequel and is still involved in the project as a producer. Alvarez said, "We just finished the script, actually, for a sequel for Romulus, but I'm going to pass the torch on this one as a director. I'm going to produce it with Ridley Scott. We're going to produce it together. We're right now trying to find a new filmmaker to come in." Alvarez wrote the script to the sequel with Romulus co-writer Roque Sayagas. And I butcher that probably. The first film grossed $350 million worldwide at the box office. Alien Romulus is the latest installment in the Alien franchise and is the 7th mainline film and 9th in conjunction with the Alien vs. Predator crossover series. I know you haven't seen Alien Romulus. Why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe how you feel about where this franchise stands today, and maybe what didn't really get you to want to go to the theaters to see Alien Romulus in the first place?
I think it kind of goes hand in hand with me not being a biggest horror fan.
That's okay.
I think, I don't know if I'm a chicken or something, but I'm just I know when I watched the original Alien and the James Cameron Alien and the David Fincher Alien, I saw those. I saw the first 4. The Jean-Pierre Jeunet was the last one I think I saw. Was it? I think that was the last.
Oh, really? Alien
4. It was the really bad one. That was there's the dude in the wheelchair and.
That would wrap it up for me as well. If that was the last one I saw, I'd be like, nope. So when you saw Romulus, getting kind of this love, when word of mouth was coming out that this takes it back to the first Alien, and you get that feel. Was it just because of the horror of it all that you're like, that's not for me?
It did feel like the original one, kind of,
definitely
the kind of scares in the original one.
Mm-hmm.
And that I don't know if I was just younger when I saw it. I didn't know what I was expecting. But I was just I don't know if it's I'm not jumping at going to see those kind of movies. The James Cameron Aliens 2 is more up my alley, where it's action adventure, guns blazing against an alien horde is more my thing, as opposed to psychological.
Okay.
Freak
Aliens
you out horror.
Is more your thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I did see Prometheus too. The one with the big white dudes.
The engineers.
Yeah. The albino
I like
guys.
Prometheus. I liked it a lot, actually.
Yeah. I never got back into the franchise, but going to your original question of what I think about Aliens, I think it's a brilliant IP, and I think it can, as long as you find the right story, and it seems like surprisingly Ridley Scott is again, he still has his hands in all of this. Like that guy must be like 95 years old or whatever, but
He's up
still,
there.
yeah, he's still
holding on to it.
holding on to it. Whether that's just a name or if he's really still has an influence. I think it just it's one of those things that can continue on and can take different forms, whether that's in continuity or like spin-offs or like, that's why the TV series has intrigued me, because I really like the showrunner on that. I believe he did
Noah Hawley.
Yeah, I love the original or the first season of Fargo that he did.
Did you see any of the other seasons? Because season two
is really
is arguably better.
Really?
Arguably. And
Really?
then season 5 was fantastic. John Hamm is the villain, I would say, and he hams it up, and it's just really, really good. I would be very curious to see how you would like season 2, though.
Was Holly on all of those?
All of them. All of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one season 4, I believe it was with Chris Rock, and it was opposing mafias, and it wasn't as good, but I would say the tops are definitely 1, 2, and 5. Those are like solid seasons of television.
Okay. So when I heard that he was on Alien Earth, right? Is that what it's called?
And he did Legion. Did you ever see Legion?
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, I do remember. That one was a little too crazy for me.
It went off the rails, but I really liked that first season. I
Yes.
thought that first season was great.
It was great. Yeah.
And I thought, why can't I think? Oh, Aubrey Plaza was just fantastic in that.
Yeah.
It really showed like her acting chops away from Parks and Rec. And so I was like, wow. Yeah. See, Alan, 1, 2, and 5 are great. Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
You love Alien vs. Predator Requiem? I've never heard anyone say that, Cranberry. I love that for you. I did not like that movie at all. The Alien vs. Predator movies, have some work to do. But I will say this, with Alien Earth in particular, Noah Hawley is such like a great writer, and I think Ridley respected that. He told him, don't be attached to any of the lore that I created before. Do what you want to do. Do your own thing. And so I really think that lent well to the storytelling within Alien Earth, because Alien Earth is more than just an Alien TV series. It has to do, it feels more like a Blade Runner TV series in a lot of sense, that like the crux of the movie is that these corporations are like their own countries now. Like they own their own land. And so this one corporation, this country, they basically are the first ones to take a consciousness and put it in a synthetic body. And they do this with children that are dying children. So it's a children's mind in a synthetic body. And now the question is that person still the same person now that they are in a synthetic body? On top of that, there are cyborgs, people that have combined with technology, and then there's synthetics,
Nice.
And so it's like these 3 different classes with also these corporations. And then the ship with the specimens crashes. Utani's ship crashes into another corporation's area when they go to explore the ship. So I would say that there is just a lot of lore that they played with, but he did it in his own way. And I feel like with Alien Romulus, to pull it back, Fede Alvarez was really able to find a way into Alien that still felt like the original Alien, but still gave it new life. And the actors that were in it were fantastic. There is this gentleman, he's also in The Long Walk coming out.
Oh yeah.
The Stephen King movie. And he is so good in it. He plays like the synthetic, robot, right? Like the David, like the, all that stuff. His name is David Johnson, and he is an incredible actor. And
the
so
most generic name in Hollywood.
I know,
David
but the way that he
Johnson.
spells it, it's Jonnsson.
Okay, there you go.
So he's trying to
Yes, he's
change
got
it
to.
up,
That's right.
change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would say that, to lose Fede as the director, I don't think it's such a bad thing because he wrote the script, and I think him and Ridley are doing their due diligence to find up and coming or a fresh director. And I think that's what this franchise is all about, for good or bad, which we've seen. I think it just plays into the tradition of a new director taking on the Alien property.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that
yeah,
he was tied as the director, he wrote it, and now he's stepping back, but he's still attached to the movie as a producer.
Yeah.
Trying to find a new director. So I wonder what the backstory is in that. Like, usually it's like, oh, we have creative differences, and the guy leaves the movie,
That's always the excuse.
Yeah. So that's interesting. He's still in it, but just not in the director position.
And Fede Alvarez has had this really great way of like taking properties and doing his own spin on it. He also did like Evil Dead in 2013, and it wasn't the greatest movie by any means, but I thought he did a really good take on it. He also did The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is like the girl with what is it, like the girl with the dragon tattoo? Is that the one? Yeah. It's that franchise. And so he is kind of becoming known for the guy that comes in, takes a well-known franchise and puts his own spin on it. So maybe it's just the fact that like he did it and now he's maybe getting some offers because it was well received, and he doesn't want to just continue to do other people's things. He did your favorite horror film, Don't Breathe. And that was a really great original IP that he created. So maybe it's just that, he wrote the script, but at the end of the day, he's getting some offers for like doing some more original stuff, but that's just speculation. I can't speak if it's fact, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because if it was like, oh, he was not seeing eye to eye with the producers and he's taken off the project or he quits the project.
Right.
But the fact that he's sticking around in such a pivotal role still, but not being the director, that kind of tracks with what you're thinking.
Yeah.
He might be directing another film that might be his own idea or whatever.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be the case. So we'll see. I know this is not in your wheelhouse, but I also do find it interesting, as you said, when a director had success with the first one only a year ago, wrote it, was lined up to direct it, is producing it, and then the director chair gets vacated. It's like, what's going on? Ridley, what are you doing to him? So, let us know your thoughts. Were you a fan of Alien Romulus? Are you, sad that this director won't be able to continue his vision? Or do you think it's, in the tradition of Alien to find a fresh new take on it? Let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we went through a ton of stuff. There was one thing I wanted to talk about, but it's okay. It was, I saw Channing Tatum say that, for Gambit, he's going to dial back.
Oh, I saw that.
Cajun accent.
I'm like, why?
Yeah, I'm like, it was funny, dude. Like,
it was so good.
But I can see how, it might not lend well to the tone of this movie.
Sure.
And so I just love that Gambit is a part of it. And it seems like it's not a quick cameo. It seems like the X-Men are going to play an important role, which I think you need to do in a Doomsday Secret Wars crossover event.
Absolutely.
So even him saying this, paying attention to the accent, because if it was a one-off cameo, of course, like the Cajun accent doesn't matter. But if he's saying like, the Russos really wanted me to dial back to match the tone of the movie, it makes me feel like, oh, we're going to see more Gambit than I originally thought. So I'm wondering, what do you, so it seems like you were that you wanted that Cajun accent.
When I watched Deadpool,
Russos.
when I saw that Channing Tatum was in it as Gambit, I'm like, what kind of crazy casting was that? And when he opened his mouth, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. Like, I
Chef's
love
kiss.
the character. I love what he's doing with it. It was perfect. I think I get it. I understand. It's similar to when the Russos did, or I guess I'm thinking of it similarly in when the Russos did like Winter Soldier and and then Civil War and then the Endgame and all that. It's like it took a darker tone, right? Like all the Marvel stuff, the like jokey kind of lighthearted stuff of the original first movies, it kind of went a little darker, a lot more serious. And though they can toggle that up and down depending on the tone of whatever
Definitely
these characters are in. And so I can see that. I can see that Doomsday is going to be, it's going to be a heavy movie. So
Yeah.
I don't think, knowing how popular Gambit was in the Deadpool movie, and even though he just said that interview, I doubt it's going to be like, oh, now he's talking like a normal guy. I'm sure it'll still be there.
I think it'll still be there. It'll just be dialed back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, Gambit is such a beloved, member of the X-Men and comic book character, especially since the animated series. He just kind of took off. And so just having him in there, in the lineup, interacting with other characters within the MCU, it just is exciting, I want to see Gambit in this. I want to see Nightcrawler. And so it's like, I'm glad you're doing it. I wish it was maybe not different actors, but I wish the X-Men were built out to get to Secret Wars, but I get with the rights issues, it just wasn't in their hands yet to be able to do that. So I'm just like, okay, great. Like we're going to get a lot of the Fox X-Men and we're going to do Secret Wars, but then they're going to do their own X-Men. And then what is their X-Men going to lead to? So I'm like, because Secret Wars is a very, very, very big event that involves the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. So it's like, you're already going to do that. And then you're going to reboot X-Men, do your own. So I'm like, what about Secret Wars? Secret Wars, they're going to do a Secret Wars 2, most likely. But it's like, it's interesting. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see what they got and bring on more of, I'm going to make a name for myself. No, I can't do it. I haven't seen, that sounded like Luigi. That was Mario. That was Mario and Luigi. I'm going to make a name for myself. It's me.
It's me, Gambit.
It's me, Gambit. Never said I was a good accent guy.
I think the Russo brothers would tell you to dial that down too.
Yeah, they're like, you're not in it. We're cutting your scenes. Awesome, my brother. Well, this was a great show. I always appreciate coming on here and getting your takes.
Thanks for having me.
Even if you're not a horror fan, it doesn't matter because you are a movie fan. You are a theater goer, lover, and so it's just interesting to hear your takes in that perspective too, because I really value every perspective, even if you're not a horror fan or this genre or that genre. Your take still matters, and that's the best part about these conversations. So I really appreciate you diving into those ones.
Yeah, a fan is a fan, takes
100%.
all sorts of different forms. And at the end of the day, I mean, even as a creative, it's like you want, everybody's opinion. If you want them to be a fan, their opinions matter. And so, yeah, I guess I should push myself to watch a little bit more horror.
Yeah,
so I can be relevant.
Definitely Fargo. More Fargo in your future. I think that's a good one to get into that we could definitely talk about, because if you're doing it, man, maybe I'll revisit it. Do like if you're doing season 2, I'll do season 2. We could talk about it.
Cool.
That'd be cool to bring back.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Oh, fun. Yes. Well, I do have my own YouTube channel. My name is Roque Ballesteros. You can look me up there. It's at Roque Inc. YouTube.com/@Roque Inc. Go subscribe. We just opened up memberships, which is awesome.
Let's
that was
go.
that happened last week. It was a really fun show where we were trying to figure it out. But we got memberships on YouTube, just fun little thing to add to the experience. And I also just opened up my own Discord channel. So if you're interested in that, drop me a link. How would you contact me? Through YouTube, leave a comment or something.
Yeah.
If you're interested in joining my Discord, we'll send you an invite link. And we'd love to be. It's just another way to build on this community, because that's kind of the most enjoyable part of doing any of this is the community. Just seeing you guys in the chat, having your own conversation, conversing with us. It's really awesome. So Discord has been another way that I'm trying to build that up. And then I have another membership tier on a site called Fourth Wall. It's getting crazy, but yeah,
awesome.
I have a weekly show. Come join. We'd love to have you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, looks on this show that, I'm going to make a name for myself.
That was better.
Okay. I haven't seen it in a while, so I got to get it. I got to
That's
get
right.
it in the head.
The cadence. Yeah.
But it seems like we did make a name for ourselves on this episode. I appreciate all you guys tuning in, commenting in the chat, being a part of the conversation, being part of the community. Rocky, thank you so much for being on the show again. I love having you on here. And yeah, I can't wait to get into more geeky stuff as it comes out. Some more raunchiness from Peacemaker. And we will see you guys next time. Have a great start to your week. Take care, my friends.
See you guys later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition.